fine. There we go. I've just clicked record. So if you are busy, if you have to leave, there's no worries. It'll be recorded and popped in the group
Yeah.
tomorrow.
No, that's great. I'm taking you with me. So, yeah, that's why I was just getting ready.
Oh, fabulous. Joe, what's prompted you to join us this evening? Have you got any questions at all that you'd like answering?
Not really at the moment. No, I'm just kind of, yeah, I'm just kind of listening in to see what everybody else is saying, really. So, yeah, nothing in particular to ask at the moment.
Amazing. Are you a PDI, ADI? Where are you?
I'm PDI, and I've got my part three, beginning of April.
Fantastic. How are you feeling for it?
Yeah, okay, I think. I mean, I still think I've got a lot to learn. I started November, so yeah, I've still got a long way to go, but I think I'm getting there.
Amazing. Well, if there's anything you need, you can always ask in the group, or pop me a message if there's anything specific.
Yeah, fab, thank you.
You are so welcome. So, Ollie, while we wait for people to join, then this is being recorded, so people can watch this back and see the beginning bit. How are you, first of all? How's your week been?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Becky. I've had a fairly busy week so far. It's only halfway through, and it feels like I've been at work for about 7 days so far. But yeah, and it's a long week because we've got the MSA conference. It's online actually on Saturday that I'm doing a presentation at the MSA conference. So I've got a bit of a long week this week. I'm out all day Friday, visiting a couple of partnerships up to West Mercia and then Warwick and then back home again. So a bit of a lengthy round trip on Friday. But apart from that, all is good. Just had a lovely 10 days in Canada. So got back a week ago, which was wonderful. A really nice time. So it was nice to get a break early in the year.
That sounds amazing. And you mentioned that you've got a long drive and then back home. Where is home? Where are you based?
South Devon. So I'm about 20 minutes out of Plymouth.
Oh,
So
wow.
nestled on the edge of Dartmoor, which is very pleasant. So yes, I'm a country boy at heart.
Oh, that's lovely. So we'll kind of get started and more people will join. I clicked start quite early tonight. I'm prompt today. I'm on the ball today. So we'll crack on with chatting and kind of explain, I guess, the purpose of our meeting tonight. So for anyone that's watching this that is new, or anybody that's watching this on catch up, Ask Becky is a session that we hold every week or every other week, depending on scheduling, and it's free for PDIs and ADIs to drop in, have a chat, tell us about their week. If they've got, difficulties with pupils that they need a bit of help with, they've got a test coming up, they're feeling a bit nervous. We've got a really lovely community here. And so, Ollie, you have come on tonight because we want to get to know the man behind the honest truth. So we're going to talk about the honest truth. We want to know all about that. We want to kind of spread that to as many people as we can, but we also want to get to know you as much as we can as well, and know about your history and how the experience you've got in the all the different careers that you've had, the different jobs within the career you've had, how that can benefit the industry as well. So, do you want to start off by telling us? Shall we start with you or with the honest truth? Where would you like to start, do you think?
Um, You can start with me if you want. Do you want to start with me, and then hopefully not too many people will leave, and then we can move on to kind of how I ended up getting involved in road safety and why I'm still in road safety after after retiring when I could have walked away and had a quiet life in Dartmoor somewhere.
I think that sounds brilliant. Yeah, let's get to know the man first, and people, anybody who's listening, pop your questions in the chat if you've got anything that you want to ask either me or Ollie, or if you want to unmute and just chat and tell us about your week, that is okay as well. So, Ollie, then go for it. Tell us a little bit about you and who you are.
So I'm Ollie, and I was a police officer for 30 years with Devon and Cornwall Police. Joined when I was 21, very, very young at the time, both young in age and young in experience. I spent my entire life up to that point deep in the Devon countryside. No surprise that my first posting then was going to be Plymouth City Centre. Never really spent any time in Plymouth until I was posted down there as a very, very fresh-faced young 21-year-old police officer. A fairly sharp learning curve. Very quickly found that I fitted into policing. It didn't come naturally, not completely naturally, but so I just saw a question pop up then, but we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Look like a very deep question, but we'll come back to that. So I found it was something I actually really enjoyed, really enjoyed, and I started looking around at what areas I could specialise in. So there were so many areas of specialism within policing. Even within specialist areas of policing, you can go on and specialise within a specialist area. So the possibilities are almost infinite, really. And during the first couple of years of a police officer's career, certainly back in the day, you would go and experience different departments, and you would go and spend a week with CID, learning about being a detective, investigating serious crime, or we spent a week with the traffic department to learn about what the role of the traffic department was. And once I'd finished these various attachments I did, I quickly realised that the one department, it didn't matter what else I did, the one department that I had no interest in whatsoever was traffic. I just wasn't interested in the traffic department at all, which is then a slight surprise. That's where I actually ended up spending about half my career. Still not entirely sure how that all worked, but I'd spent quite a lot of time. I'd been a response officer, I'd been a youth engagement officer, I'd done some project work, I'd been a neighbourhood officer, and I had an opportunity to do another attachment to traffic, just before I got promoted to sergeant. And at that point, I spent about 3.5, 4 months on traffic, and I actually got to quite enjoy it. I thought, actually, this is actually really quite a big job. They had all the best toys for a start. They had the fastest cars, they had motorbikes, they had all sorts of stuff. So traffic sergeant's roles were extremely rare, really rare. When somebody got into a traffic sergeant role, you tend to find they stayed there. They stayed there until they retired. So vacancies, it was very rare that a vacancy would come up. So I kind of put it to one side. Completely unexpectedly, 2008-9, a new post was created for a new traffic sergeant in Newton Abbot in South Devon. They were increasing the establishment and they decided they needed a new traffic sergeant. So they put the advert out. So I applied for it, and I fancied a change. So I applied for the role and didn't really think I had a chance at it. Didn't really think I had a shot at it at all. There were some really strong candidates. And for a whole variety of reasons that I won't bore anybody with tonight, I wasn't aware that I got an interview until 48 hours before the interview was being held.
Wow.
I'd been away. It was really last minute. I was suddenly told, actually, you've got an interview Monday. This was Friday evening. I was working late Friday, late Saturday, late Sunday. And then my interview was the last thing on the Monday. So I literally had no time to prepare for it at all. So I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? So I thought, I'm not going to worry about it. I know some stuff. I can do a bit of reading over the next couple of days, and I can go to my interview on the Monday. I was the last of 7 to be interviewed, and I was late getting into my interview, so I didn't get into interview about 5:30 in the afternoon. This poor interview panel, I'd already had 6 wannabe traffic sergeants who'd been giving them, the reasons why they should be the new traffic sergeant. So I went in with a very laissez-faire attitude. I thought, I'm just going to have a chat with them for half an hour or so. You see how I get on. Don't really expect to get it. There's some really 2 really strong candidates, and one of them I was adamant was going to get it, absolutely adamant. So I went into the interview, had a chat with them, came out of the interview and thought, okay, I gave it my best shot. I'm fairly sure I haven't got the job, but it was a good experience, and went home and thought nothing more of it until the following lunchtime. Got a phone call from our HR department and said, oh, Olly, we'd like to offer you the job. The first thing was, have you run the right person? Because I wasn't convinced they'd run the right person at all, but they had, and I was offered the job as a traffic skipper. And I didn't really look back then for the next 12, well, nearly 14 years, and 12, 13, 14 years. And I realised very quickly that traffic was my calling in policing. I really enjoyed my time on traffic. It was an area of policing where I felt I could actually make a difference. And as well as some of the best courses I ever did in policing, the driving courses, advanced driver, advanced pursuit driver, advanced motorcyclist. And I was out on some of these courses, particularly the advanced motorcycling course. And beautiful sunny day, riding high speed around the West Country, up towards Wales, up into some of the home counties. I was riding along one day in particular, beautiful road, gorgeous road for motorcycling, nice and empty, beautiful weather, nice sunny day, cruising along on the motorbike. And I could just sat there and thought, the government are paying me to do this. I can't actually believe I'm being paid to do this. And that was great, and all that came with it. I got involved with young drivers very early in my traffic career. There was a portfolio that didn't have a portfolio holder; it had to be young drivers. I asked if I could hold the portfolio for young drivers, which my boss at the time said absolutely no problem at all. I had two young sons; they were in their early teens, so I knew that they would want to learn to drive after a few years. And the flip side of the job, the not so glamorous side, was I was also attending and investigating fatal collisions and serious injury collisions. Any serious injury or fatal collision is awful, particularly for those people involved. But when it involves young people, that is just multiplied 10, 100, 1,000-fold, because that's a young life that is literally snuffed out in an instant, which is heartbreaking for everybody concerned. And I've met the families of those that are left behind, and I've investigated, like I said, countless fatalities where young drivers and passengers have been victims, young drivers have been offenders. I've put young drivers in prison for offences they've committed on the road. And whilst it was a fascinating job, and it was a at times a very rewarding job when I was able to provide a family with the answers that they deserve. The question they always have for me, which is what happened and why did it happen? There are two questions I always got asked, and I knew that I could turn up at a scene of utter devastation and carnage, complete devastation at 2 o'clock in the morning on the darkest road in Devon and Cornwall, be faced with a million pieces just scattered across a vast area. And I knew that through determination and exceptional police work, not just by myself, but by a lot of specialist colleagues around me, that we could provide those answers. And if somebody had done something wrong on the road, then I was going to ensure justice was seen, seen basically. So whilst it wasn't a glamorous side of the job at all, it was a really necessary side of the job, and it gave people closure when something had happened on the road. When fatal collisions occur, they occur in the blink of an eye. They're not expected. Nobody goes out and says, I know I'm going to get involved in a fatal collision today. It happens in the blink of an eye. Normally because somebody makes a bad decision behind the wheel. They make a bad decision. Now, that might be in that moment bad decision. They decide to overtake a vehicle because it's going slower than them. The overtake's not there and it all goes wrong, and that's it, game over. Or it might be a decision they make 1, 2, 3, 4 hours earlier. They decide to have that extra drink. They decide to not get enough sleep, whatever it might be. There could be any number of reasons. So unraveling, whilst it was a dark and depressing world to live and work in for so many years, it was actually rewarding to be able to provide loved ones with some comfort to be able to answer their questions for them. So that was the other side of the job that came with what I did, and I was under no illusion when I joined traffic. I was going to see some things and experience some things that nobody should ever have to. But
I can't imagine. Yeah, it sounds horrendous. So going from that then, so your incredible career and seeing all this devastation, but being able to provide that for families. I know if it was me, I would want to get really curious of why this was happening in the first place, and how can we prevent it if there was a way to prevent it? Did you ever feel like that at times? Like, what can I do to stop this happening so that people don't have to go through this?
Absolutely, you're absolutely 100%, Becky, and that's why I got involved in road safety right at the beginning of my traffic career, because I was looking as an investigator, as a lead investigator, I was understanding the causations behind the collisions and the reasons why these collisions were occurring, and how a simple decision could have changed everything. How a decision the other way would have changed the outcome of that journey completely, and those people involved would have finished their journey, would have all gone home to their loved ones. And time again, I was seeing that what was happening was completely preventable, completely avoidable, if only somebody made a different decision. So traffic officers have got a bit of a reputation as ticket monsters. And I could have gone out any shift I wanted. I could have gone out and I could have issued 10, 15, 20 tickets in a shift with absolutely no problem. But I wasn't about issuing tickets. If a ticket needed to be issued, I was going to issue a ticket. And plenty of people talk themselves into tickets, don't get me wrong. And plenty of people deserve to get tickets, deserve fines, deserve points on their license. Of course they do. But actually, a lot of occasions I was finding that people were making a decision, a bad decision, a lot of it on the spur of the moment. And they didn't understand the risks. What they weren't doing is they weren't thinking about the longer term consequences of a decision they were making. So I actually set up and ran an operation called Operation One Chance that was popular, very popular with some traffic officers, very unpopular with other traffic officers. Because what we were doing was we set about to give motorists at a point of first offence the opportunity for some roadside education. So it was a little bit like speed awareness, but it was for very, very long offences, and it was done at the roadside. And the reason for that, Becky, was that imagine, for those of you who have children, imagine if you catch your son or daughter with their hand in the biscuit jar, taking the biscuit out and they were told not to, and you decide that you're going to talk to them about it and punish them 6 weeks later. There's a real disconnect because the moment's passed.
Absolutely.
And 6 weeks later, life has moved on at such a pace that actually dealing with something 6 weeks later has very limited value in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, everyone here can relate to that. You know, when we have our learners in the car and a fault happens and a mistake happens, something occurs, we need to discuss it as soon as we can so that we're there in the moment. So yeah, we can all relate to that. Absolutely.
In the moment, you're absolutely right. Being in the moment. So this operation I devised and set up and ran was all about that in the moment, very education in a very teachable moment. So absolutely. It was all about sitting in the back of the patrol car, showing them a video of a real life story of somebody who had experienced, whether it's a family member or a member of emergency services or whoever it might have been, talking about an incident they dealt with, an incident they were involved with around the topic of the offence they'd been stopped for. And actually, it was a really successful operation. Didn't give out a single ticket the whole operation. It was all about education. So I've always been about education, and that education is key to changing behaviour, without a shadow of a doubt. Now we've got a lost generation of drivers out there. Colleagues on your driving instructor colleagues on the line are going to know that. They're going to know that there's a lost generation. They see them every day. They're tricky to get to. But we need to break the cycle. We need to break the cycle of poor driving. So actually, driving instructors are in the unique position of influence where they have the ability to do that. At the end of the day, driving instructors are road safety professionals. You are not seen as road safety professionals by a lot of people. We do, at the honest truth. We have recognised that for over a decade. But the influence, the power of influence that you have over the next generation of drivers should not be underestimated. So it's all about delivering really good quality, relevant, up-to-date information that will foster and encourage behaviour change amongst young drivers and amongst those learning to drive. And that's the whole premise behind why I got involved in The Honest Truth way, way back in the day, why I agreed to get involved and be the police representative. In fact, I led the partnership for nearly 5 years on it. And why, when I left policing and I was asked to come back and head up The Honest Truth, why I agreed, and it wasn't even a question for me, to come back and get re-involved with The Honest Truth, to come back and work with the driving instruction industry to encourage the idea of good, up-to-date, relevant road safety education in a way in which young people will relate to it and take it on board, because it only takes one pupil, one student, to take away one bit of information that as a driving instructor you give them, that as a result, when that moment comes, they have to make that decision on their own, that they make the right decision that results in them not being stopped and given a ticket and losing their license, getting points to lose their license, or worse still, being involved in a serious or fatal collision. Actually, as a driving instructor, that's your job done. Because
absolutely, keeping everyone safe. You mentioned, Ollie, I want to get into the honest truth a little bit more because there might be some people watching this that don't actually know what the honest truth is. So I definitely want to get into that more and how we as instructors can implement that in our lessons. You mentioned when you were as a traffic officer and you were seeing these crashes, and you mentioned that all it takes is that one decision. What kind of decisions were you seeing the most often that was causing these serious, critical, fatal collisions? And is that something that you've taken into the honest truth? They're the things that you kind of want us as instructors to focus on with these young people.
Yes. So okay, yeah. So the simple answer to that, Becky, is that you have and everybody on the call will be familiar with what we call the fatal five. So the five most common reasons that people get involved in high-end collisions, basically. So you've got speed, seatbelts, distractions, mobile phones, and impairment through drink or drug driving. So they're the fatal five, effectively. So they are five critical topics which all drivers should be aware of. So when you look at serious or fatal collisions, one of the biggest things that came out of certainly my experience, and I'd attended, God, 100, 150, about 150 serious and fatal
Wow.
collisions over my career. I lost count. I lost count over
Gosh.
time. And you look at it, and excess speed was a massive factor in a lot of them. Excess speed
Speed.
and failing to look as well. So you'd
Mm,
often find somebody would go for an overtake that clearly wasn't there. They go for an overtake, they'd miss the junction on the offside. They
mm,
then end up colliding with a vehicle that's pulling out of that junction. The poor
mm.
person in the junction is complete innocence, total innocence. But
Yeah.
because they decided I'm gonna overtake this vehicle. This vehicle is impeding my progress, so I'm gonna overtake it using
Mm,
in excess of the speed limits. Suddenly they find themselves on the wrong side of the road, faced with a vehicle in front of them that's pulled out of a junction quite lawfully that they can do nothing about. It's literally no time to react a lot of the time.
mm.
So that sort of thing, getting it wrong, inappropriate or excess speed on rural roads. Rural roads are a massive problem. They are where the vast
Yeah.
majority of collisions occur, vast majority. So somebody who's been driving around the same, I talk about inappropriate speed. Somebody who's been driving around the same bend all summer, nice dry road, they can drive around the bend at 50, 55, 60 miles an hour because it's a nice sweeping bend, nice dry road, nice vision, nice view, no problem at all. Suddenly come
Yeah.
the autumn and that road's got a microclimate on it, be it a wet road, a standing water, leaves, they get halfway around that bend at 50, 55 miles an hour that they've been doing all summer because they
Yeah.
haven't thought about the risks involved of a microclimate, of the change in environment. Halfway around the bend, the car's out of control. They're
Mm,
a passenger, nothing more than a passenger. And it's very
yeah.
light to regret a decision at that point. In fact, there's no point regretting that, the decision, making a decision there because the car's out of control. The car
Mm,
will go where gravity and physics are going to take it.
mm.
So again, they'll come off the road. Often as not, they'll just hit whatever's in front of them. It could be trees are very unforgiving. Trust me, very unforgiving. Even
Mm,
small trees will completely wreck a car, or another
mm,
vehicle end up on the wrong side of the road. All sorts of things. So it's
mm.
a lot of the times it's about somebody's made a decision. They've chosen to look at their mobile phone at a specific moment in time. They've chosen to have an extra drink and get in the car when they're clearly impaired. They
Yeah.
made that
Yeah.
choice. So these are the reasons that people get involved with high-end collisions. They don't go out intending to, don't get me wrong. People don't go out
Mm,
intending to do this. They make a decision which results in them getting involved in the collision. So it's about changing that decision back in time or
yeah.
at that moment in time if they're faced with having to make a critical decision in the blink of an eye, which you do have to when you're driving sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess linking that to specifically driving instructors and anyone watching this, and Joanne asked a really good question. What is meant by delving deeper with safety questioning? And we're going to talk a little bit more about what you get with the honest truth and how that can help us as instructors with our pupils. But Joanne, Ollie just touched on a really good point there. You could have a pupil that drives in one manner in the summer, and you could only do lessons with them for 3 months across the summer, and they pass, and then it gets to October, and they don't know how to drive. Now, that doesn't mean we have to drive for 12 months with them in every weather conditions, but digging deeper with the safety questions could absolutely be, well done for driving on this bend here. How might you drive it if it was wet? How might you drive it if it was snowy? How might this be different if you had somebody behind you? Would you do this overtake here? How would you know whether you could, and how would you judge it? What could the consequences be If you did do an overtake and it was unsafe, questions like that, that's kind of us going deeper with our safety questioning. But Olly, at the honest truth, you have a lot of resources for us as instructors to help us with these learners and help them learn and make better decisions. Do you want to tell us a little bit about when we sign up with you, what we get with you, how that can help us as instructors keep people safe?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I've already seen there are a couple of honest truth instructors on the call because I recognise the names. Because although I don't know the name of every 650 of the instructors, there are certainly names I do recognise. So welcome to those that are on the call. So the honest truth, really simply, in its simplest form, it's a means to be able to deliver road safety education to your students as part of a course of driving lessons. Now, don't get me wrong, we know that driving instructors, and I'm sure everybody on the call here, delivers road safety in some way, shape, or form during their lessons. We spoke to a lot of driving instructors, well over a decade ago when this was very first started, and we learned that driving instructors do deliver road safety education, but a lot of them we spoke to basically weren't quite sure. Weren't quite sure. It's an interesting question from people. I'm going to come back to that in a second.
Yeah, we've had a few actually that we can delve into. Yeah, yeah.
Weren't quite sure which topics to cover, how much depth to go into, and often has not had a pet hate. So if they had a real something that really got on their nerves, that other motorists' behaviour they display, they tend to focus on that and away from other topics. So what we did with the honest truth is we developed an entire campaign based around 10 truths, if you like, based around 10 truths, okay? So they are the fatal 5 plus 5 others, all right? So I don't know, Becky, whether you can give me presenter access or not. Don't worry if you can't.
I don't think I can. If I do that, it'll stop recording.
No,
So
that's fine. So basically, what we did was we took the fatal 5, but we also included 5 additional topics. So we've got fatigue, tiredness, vulnerable road users, passing, showing off, drink and drugs we took separately. So we took drugs out as a separate issue, and insurance. So we ended up with 10 truths, if you like. And what we've done is we've developed an app. We have an app available that you as a driving instructor can download. And on that app is a very simple dashboard. Again, I can't show you because obviously screen sharing. A really simple dashboard which you can register your pupils on the dashboard, just a name and an email address. We send them a welcome email, welcoming them to the honest truth, telling them a bit about it. You've then got the 10 2-minute videos. They're called truth videos. They're presented by young people. So I know Becky's seen them, and those that are already on truth.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Have seen them. And they're introduced by 2 Gen Z people, Keenan and Serena, and they literally spend 2 minutes talking about that topic, introducing the topic. For you to then be, as an instructor, to then be able to develop that topic of conversation within the car during that lesson. So the theme for that lesson becomes speed, or becomes seatbelts, or becomes mobile phones, whatever you decide, it doesn't matter. When you've completed that topic, it shows up on the dashboard in the app under that student's name as green, as they've completed that topic. 24 hours later, they'll get an email from us, which will give them some more information about that topic, and it'll also give them a link to the video. So they can watch the video again, they can show it to parents, whoever looks after them at home. So there's that kind of onward learning. It's that affirmational follow-up, if you like. So they get one of those each time they complete one. When they've completed all 10, they become an honest truth graduate. They get a nice email saying, well done. And also in that email is a little downloadable or printable certificate personalised to them to say they've completed the honest truth road safety programme, if you like, within their lessons. Questions I've had. An instructor, I don't like to use a phone. I've never used a phone during my lesson. Brilliant, love it, absolutely brilliant. And I totally support that. It's really an opportunity for them to see the video on a phone or a tablet to then go, right, I'm now going to turn my phone off. I'm going to put it in the glove box, aka phone box. So there's a behaviour change point that can be raised straight away to actually go, before I start the car, phone's going in the glove box, out of harm's way. Okay, so it can be used as a learning point. Instructors to say, hang on a minute, if the wheels, something I heard the other day, and I had to roll my eyebrows. If the wheels ain't turning, they ain't learning. Disagree. Totally disagree with that.
Absolutely.
2 minutes at the beginning of a lesson, even an hour-long lesson. 2 minutes. The longest video is about 2 minutes 9 seconds. It's nothing.
Yeah.
But going back to they just might pick up something from that video that makes them make a different decision when you're not sat next to them as their voice of reason. For me, that's 2 minutes exceptionally well spent.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I've learned, and again, I've had numerous instructors come back to me and said, "Olly, my car's turned into a professional." These videos are opening up all sorts of really interesting stories and debates, talking about how their family members drive, how their mates are driving.
Yeah.
They feel they can talk about these topics because they're young people are introducing them to them. So the videos are there, not to say you're not doing your job properly, but to say you're doing your job. Actually, here is a mechanism for you to be able to track what they've learned. They're all getting the same information. They will open up debate and conversation in the car. You can then develop debate and conversation in the car with them to be able to deliver alongside the mechanics of learning to drive those essential life skills associated with learning to drive, which are for me as important as the mechanical skills.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if not more so. And we will come to Peapod's question because it was a really good comment that she popped in there. We've had a question from Deborah. So she said, did it tend to be excess speed while they had peers in the car as passengers? And she said, I'm just wondering what was a possible cause of excess speed. So when you did attend some of the collisions that you attended and the cause was excess speed, do you think it was down to that peer pressure? Or did
Certainly
that
there
not
were
matter?
No, certainly there were occasions. There definitely were occasions where passenger influence did
Mm-hmm.
influence the driver's behaviour, which is why distractions is such an important topic within the honest truth, because young people who want to seem to be cool, who want to be sort of the cool person in school in their peer group, if their mates who aren't paying for fuel, aren't paying for insurance, aren't risking their own license, will encourage them to go, how fast can you go? Oh, I bet you go around this corner faster. I bet you can drift around this roundabout. Unfortunately, unless a young person has got that wherewithal to go, ain't going to happen,
Yeah.
they'll go, oh, I want to be cool because this mate of mine is the cool person in the year group, in my peer group. I want to be seen to be cool as well. They will often bow to peer pressure. That's
Yeah.
when it all goes horribly wrong. Often as not, passengers will end up dying as well as drivers.
Yeah. And that, excuse me, that's things like that, scenarios like that. So kind of linking it back to in car and in lessons, when a pupil does something good, asking questions like, well done on that. How would you have done that if it was 4 a.m. and you were designated driver and you were driving back with your mates and they were telling you to go faster? How would you do that if if you'd gone out to pick your friends up and it was midnight and there was no one on the road? Do you think you'd still stick to the speed limit? So just going back to Joanne's point at the beginning, those deeper questions, you can see how everything that Olly's talking about and how it's so important. We can use deeper questionings to get that point across.
It's all about risk. Sorry, Becky. It's all about risk and consequence. And
Yeah,
it's about
yeah,
young
completely.
people understanding the risks they're going to face when they're behind the wheel without an instructor sat next to them. And that's, I think, the bit that's missing sometimes, is that they
Yes.
don't fully understand the risks they face. Just quickly going back to Honest Truth as well, it's not just about the app. We also have, in fact, we've just launched a brand new resource pack that comes with it. So as part of, hang on a minute.
You're blurry.
Oh, that's, I think, because my background's blurred. So we've got a brand
There
new
you go.
resource. There you go,
Yeah.
brand new resource pack, which will come through your door if you as and when you, or if and as and when you sign up. And in there's a letter from me. There's a nice car sticker to promote your involvement. So if you can see that you teach honest truth about on a safer driving, very nice branded Sharpie. All of a Sharpie. A couple of branded post-it pads. The My Car, My Rules cards, which is a campaign that came out of a stock check I did many years ago, where new drivers or those that are approaching their test, they can set their own rules right from the outset. So they can just write their own rules and say, these are my rules, it's my car, my rules, stick to them or you're not having a ride. An example of the two of the magazines that we can provide, and the ability to be able to order those magazines through a resource page on the website, which has a QR code at the bottom of the resource box. It takes you straight to a resource page. There's digital page turner magazines in there you can send to your pupils and their parents. There's graphics you can use for websites and socials, quite no problem at all. And the most exciting thing, and I'm really excited about this, we have just completed, or just completing, a complete or comprehensive coaching guide for the honest truth. So every single of the 10 topics, each of the 10 truths, is going to have an associated double-sided coaching card, which will have how to introduce the topic, how to overcome common objections, how to put it into context in the car, and top takeaway tips. And there'll be one for each truth. And they'll come in a nice branded wallet. The digital version's available as well on the resource page, so you can download them to a tablet. You can use those as an instructor to frame conversation, to ask those questions, to do little role plays, to do little exercises in the car that relate specifically to that topic, to be able to coach it, really, really coach it during that lesson while they're learning the mechanics, they're learning about that topic, to be able to foster and encourage that behaviour change so that when they leave you and they've got that practical pass test certificate, they stand the best possible chance of making the right decision at the right moment in time. And all that is part of that Honest Truth package that you get if you sign up as an Honest Truth instructor.
There's just so much involved, which is incredible. And I remember when you told me about the coaching program a couple of months ago, I was really excited for it, because I think sometimes as instructors we hear about things like this. There's other varying things that you can add into lessons, and I think sometimes we go, yeah, but how do I add that in? How do I start that conversation with my learners? So I think the coaching guide is going to be really beneficial. I really want to come to the other questions that we've had, but I really want to ask you one from me, if that's okay. I personally feel conversations like this is vital to anyone that's learning to drive, whether you do have a 17-year-old and it's their birthday and it's their first lesson, or whether it's a 40-year-old mum who never got round to lessons and they're now starting. I think conversations like this are vital. What do you think about the fact that it isn't included as a necessity in any of the qualifying tests, strictly within road safety? Of course, road safety is there. We have to show that we can do questioning techniques, but to the level of what you bring, do you think that should be mandatory for a driving instructor to be able to qualify and know these things?
Yes, it's a massive missed opportunity, because the right education does make a difference. Yeah, basically, yes. That's right. There was a story I was going to tell you, but unfortunately, it involves a live investigation, and but it involves a decision made by a young person that resulted them not getting in a car that crashed and killed the two other occupants. And as a result, and they were an Honest Truth student.
Wow.
That's one that I was told about a week ago.
So that one student that didn't get in because they were an Honest Truth student, they're alive. And
Yeah.
obviously you can't say about the
I
others,
can't,
but
with the best in the
wow.
world, I can't say any more about it than that, because it is a live investigation, but it's one that I've been made aware of by one of our 650 instructors and said, Ollie, you might want to know about this. They made the decision to find another way home that night.
Wow.
The car that they should have been in crashed and killed the two occupants.
And that's the reality of how having these conversations and using your coaching guide and the resources to help teach these learners and help them learn it themselves can literally save lives. That's horrendous, but it's brilliant as well. It's one of them, isn't it? Yeah. Goodness me.
It's on both ends of the spectrum, Becky.
Yeah, yeah.
I was devastated to hear about the collision, but I was
Yes.
so heartened to hear it could have been
Yeah.
3, not 2. And
Yeah.
the third person is the third individual is walking around safe and well because they made a different decision.
Wow. Oh, goodness me. So let's come to Sally. So Sally said, my worry is teenagers, especially boys, who know the risks but don't think it's going to happen to them. Some seem to have a build-in need for speed and enjoy the thrill. Are there outlets to recommend to them so they can stay safe on public roads but still get the thrill met through other means?
Track days. Go and
Track days.
go and do a track day. If you want to go and rag your car around a track, do a track day.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. My
Easier to do.
son is 17 next year, and he's already got his sights set on my car. He's telling me he's gonna put alloys on it. He's gonna tint the windows, all this nonsense. He's been driving, the where you can go and have a fast car experience, on a Lamborghini and whatever. He's been doing that since he was 12. And that's his thing. That's his outlet. It's not a chance he's driving until he knows the proper rules. Let's come to Peapod. So she said GDE matrix, not enough, know and or implement it into lessons. Tell us your thoughts, Olly. GDE matrix.
So yeah, again, that's a tricky one because it's all about interpretation. It's all about, it's all about interpretation at the end of the day. I personally don't think enough emphasis is put on education, as in road safety and behaviour change education from high levels. It's done in pockets by driving instructors, and I've had driving instructors who I've promoted honest truths to for various presentations who have come to me and said, I haven't got the time for that.
Yes,
But
yeah, I can
what
imagine.
are you talking about? You
Yeah.
haven't got the time to spend 2 minutes to show somebody a video at the beginning of a lesson. No, I haven't got time for that. They're learning to drive. They're not. And I was like, well, okay, well, I'm never going to change your mind at the end of the day. But I would never want anybody to learn to drive with you as an instructor. That's for sure. Because I know there are some incredible instructors out there, and the instructors on calls like this are the instructors that we want with the honest truth, because we know they're invested in wanting to be better, wanting to do the best they possibly can, which is why you all come on calls like this. We've got an honest truth webinar tomorrow evening, and I've got Lisa Daniels from the TSO coming on to talk about what the TSO can do to support driving instructors. I've got nearly 200 people signed up for that one tomorrow evening. I won't see 200 people, but I've got nearly 200 people signed up, which is amazing. So, there are some really good instructors out there. We want to work with all those really high-end good instructors who just want to add something, to add that bit of added benefit into their lessons. So, yeah, I was going to say, I think that things like the GDE matrix, it's great. The GDE matrix is great. Don't get me wrong. It's written by academics. I'm not a massive academic. I'm far more practical. That's why I never made it the upper echelons of policing. I was never happy than I was out the front and I get my hands dirty. That was where I was happiest and where I performed the best. So whilst the GDA matrix is important, I think that it isn't well known enough, and I think that the implementing into lessons can be very difficult. And people trying to implement into lessons then can get bogged down in the weeds a bit, rather than going with, we've tried to do something really straightforward and simple to make it an absolute no-brainer, to go, well, this is such a simple thing that I can put into my lessons.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I do it? Not why would I do it, but why wouldn't I do it? So
Yeah.
we try to go the other way and go, yes, well, it's underpinned by academia and it's been looked at and developed in conjunction with academics. It's very much been built around the operational delivery of driving lessons by driving instructors.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the easiest way that I can sum up the GDE matrix for anyone, you're absolutely right. It can be complex and it can be subjective depending who's reading it, who's looking at it. The easiest way that I sum up the GDE matrix whenever anyone asks me about it is when we drive, we are all advanced drivers here. When we drive, we make decisions that are positive and we don't go around crashing. We have to know consciously what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're judging that. If we can do that, we need to help our learners learn that. And by focusing on the learner, by getting them to know everything that we know and come up with those decisions and those solutions themselves, that sums up the GDE matrix. Focus on the learner, help them make the safe decisions, help them come up with solutions for the future, sorted. Then hopefully they're not going to go on crash.
And that's exactly what the coaching guide does, Becky.
Yes.
It's not a spoon feed your student the answers.
Yeah.
It's pose the questions, and it's
Yeah.
looking at ways to frame the questions and how to elicit the answers out of the student, and it's getting them to think about those very topics. That's the whole point of the coaching guide.
Yeah. And for anybody here that's a PDI that's got a part 3 coming up, that's exactly what the examiners are looking for. We want to get the information out of the learner. We don't want to put the learning in. So using a guide like Olly's to help with the safety chats is fantastic, not just for the pupil, for the safety ongoing, but also it'll benefit you in your qualifying tests as well. Mark said 4 people in the car, 4 times more likely to have a collision. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we know that the risk factors for young drivers are multiplied through number of occupants in the car, the time of day. There are a number of factors, basically their age, things like that. So we know the more occupants they have in a vehicle, the higher likelihood is they're going to have a crash. Which is why when my boys both passed their tests, I said to them, apart from your brother taking him to school or air cadets, you are going to have nobody else in your car, unless it's me or your mum or your grandma or your granddad, nobody else in your car for the next 3 months. That's it. End of. There's no discussion. and then neither of them had anybody in the car other than immediate family members for the first 3 months after passing their test. But that's down to parents to enforce and influence,
Yeah.
and that's where the problem arises. To be fair.
Sally said, the honest truth helps me to provide a focus to lessons, and learners often say they've learned something new. For example, oh, I didn't realize that, and that it's so easy to use. Thank you, Sally. That's good feedback.
Sally, thank you so much. That's brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you, Sally.
Really good feedback. We've had a couple of questions. How much is the pack and the coaching book? How much is it to get the app, and how long does it last? So do you want to give us a little info on that?
So yes, there's a couple of options. The singular instructor subscription is £7.50 a month, and for that, that's everything. So you get everything for that. You get the app access, you get the resource pack, you get the coaching guide, which is literally being launched as soon as the design work's finished. I've been told next week. The digital version will go up on the resource page straight away, and the physical copies will come out shortly afterwards once they've been printed. Obviously, you know, that's the whole honest truth package. Now, we have some areas where we have funding available. So if you're in Devon and Cornwall, you can get it for half price, £3.75 a month. Even in Somerset, you can get it for nothing. Worcestershire, Herefordshire and Shropshire, the West Mercia area, particularly Worcestershire and Herefordshire, I have fully funded places. The West Mercia Police have just refunded in the last 2 weeks, which is amazing for 2025. Warwickshire, I've got some funded places, fully funded. Staffordshire, I've got some half-funded places, £3.75 a month. Norfolk, I've got a couple of places left that are fully funded. Kent, I've got some fully funded places. Buckinghamshire, I've got some fully funded places. And I'm also talking to a couple of new areas as well, which I'm hoping will come on board in the next 3 to 6 months. If you're a member of a driving school or you own a driving school, then we do rates for multiple instructors. So if you get a number of instructors, you can get a discounted rate per instructor. We do a monthly subscription because what we say is that it's just a rolling month basically. So there's no, you know, it lasts for as long as you pay for it basically. And then any new resources that come out, you won't pay any extra for. You'll get them added in. So we're looking at some new truths this year. We're looking at 3 new truths. In fact, I want to try and do 4, but they're not cheap to do them end to end. We're looking at tyre safety, basic vehicle maintenance and checks, choosing your first vehicle, and I'd like to look at one on rural roads driving as well, because that's where a large number of these collisions are occurring. So I'd like to look at a truth on rural roads and the risks and what they need to think about on rural roads. So when we add new truths in, you will get that they'll appear on the app. You'll get the cards, the coaching cards to go in your little pack. It'll all come. There's no additional cost to that. It's just part and parcel of our development.
That's brilliant. And we've just had a couple of requests if you've got any funding in these places: Middlesex, Dorset, Northamptonshire.
No. Reluctantly.
Oh no.
No. Again, I'm talking to new areas all the time, and as new areas are learning about what we're doing and what we've developed and how we're improving what we're offering, we're getting new areas that are expressing an interest and having. The trouble is the wheels of progress in local authority roll extremely slowly. So from first conversation to getting a new area on board and getting to agree funding can be 3 to 6 month process. It is a long drawn process, but I'm working with other areas to try and get it. Unfortunately, those 3 aren't on my radar at the moment, but some of their neighbours are. So once their neighbour does it, you might find they then fall into line.
Oh, that's good. Tanya posed a question for us. How would you help the overcautious, really nervous drivers make safer choices where their unnecessary hesitation is leading to dangerous decisions?
Tanya, that's a really good question. A really good question. So with things like the honest truth, the last thing you want to do is tell a new driver 101 ways they can kill themselves in a car, because if they're nervous and suffer nerves and anxiety, you're never going to see them again. So actually, we include things like insurance because it's a really soft introduction to some of these topics, and they get used to the idea about learning about them. So those that are overcautious, it's trying to understand, the reason for their overcautiousness. Have they been involved in a collision? Did a close family member get involved in a serious collision? What's led them to be so anxious about learning to drive? Narrowing down those reasons and then teasing the reasons out and working on those reasons. And to some extent, it's about putting them out of their comfort zone from time to time as well, in a really controlled manner. Don't get me wrong, we're not going to suddenly throw them out on the motorway when they're absolutely terrified about driving down an empty street. but certainly about getting them to challenge what they think is possible. And that's what it's all
Yeah.
about with nerves. Is I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. You can do this. You absolutely
Yeah.
can. So let's just take it a step at a time. Let's just do it one step at a time. We'll get that step done. We'll move on to the next step. We'll build on a foundation.
Yeah.
So it's about getting them to understand that driving at 30 miles an hour on a motorway is as dangerous as driving at 90 miles an hour on a motorway. And these sorts of things. So it's very difficult to give you a specific answer because everybody's different and everybody's nerves and anxiety arise from for different reasons, and you know they come from different triggers. Different things will trigger them. So it's very much about understanding what that individual trigger is for that individual student, and then developing strategies to cope with that trigger, basically.
Yeah. I think it's important to mention here as well that things like the honest truth is, as much as we would want it to be, it is part of our training. It is something that we have to do within lessons. It's part of the syllabus just as much as moving off, stopping, lefts and rights are. It's not, but fortunately, we've got the honest truth that we can add into lessons to help those conversations. I just want to plug Diane Hall's extra thing that we can add into lessons here. So if you have got a learner that's really, really nervous, Diane Hall gives us stuff to use in car to help with nerves. And actually, using Diane's stuff to help overcautious drivers manage their nerves, getting them more confident could then actually spark even greater conversations about the truths from the honest truth. So actually, they could work really well hand in hand if you've got a pupil that is really, really nervous. Thank you, Tanya, for that question. We've talked about how much things are. Mark said, "Why is the DVSA not building all this great stuff into the syllabus?" Yeah, we've mentioned that. Do you think
I
they
think
ever
have
will,
a
Ollie?
sorry.
Do you think they ever will?
Yes. We are in talks about collaborating with DVSA. They want to collaborate with us, basically, and
Brilliant.
TSO as well. So it's taken us over a decade to get DVSA to sit up and listen to who we are and what we're about and what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But they have recognised this, and Loveday Ryder said at a national conference last year they want to start more collaborations and actually specifically mentioned Honest Truth as a collaboration they're working on. So
That is brilliant news.
which is amazing. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So yes, I will be banging the DVSA's door as hard as I dare without upsetting them.
And I think you'll have a lot of support as well from a lot of people in the industry. Mark said, "I wonder what the big nationals would say about this." Do you have any contact with big national schools? You mentioned that you have some schools that use you as part of their franchises. Any contact with the big nationals?
Yes, we had some early discussions with a couple of the really big schools.
Yeah.
They it was really interesting. I'm not quite sure. We were in advanced discussions, really advanced discussions with one in particular that suddenly went very quiet on us, and we never really got to the bottom of why.
Mm,
We didn't really understand why. We aren't going to sell our soul to the devil. I'll tell you that. We are as much about a singular ADR, a singular instructor who works for themselves, who gets out there every day in and day out, trying to do the very best that they can, as
yeah,
much as a driving school of 2, 3, 4,000 instructors. We are
yeah,
there for everybody when we're not going to sell ourselves out. I will not sell my principles out to anybody. If we've got a large driving school that wants to come and work with us, 100%, absolutely, we would, of course, we would, but we're not about selling out at all.
yeah.
We will stick to our core aims and principles, and that is to be there for the industry, not for a
Mm.
specific school.
Which I think is brilliant and makes you even more relatable. And it's been really nice to get to know the man behind it all and get to know you a little bit better. Mark said, "Is this something that as ADIs we could use to help sell lessons and sell us as instructors in our local areas, do you reckon?"
100%, 100%, because I can guarantee there won't be that many instructors in your area that are delivering honest truth, which is why the car sticker that you can then put on the back of your car, that basically says, "I teach the honest truth about safer driving."
Mm.
You can promote your involvement. You can promote it on your socials. If you've got a website, you can promote it on your website. You can link through to our website, 100%. And we encourage you to promote the fact that as well as teaching young people how to drive, you're going to teach them the life skills that are essential once they pass their test. And in fact, I had a driving instructor in Kent ring me fairly recently and said, "Oh, Ollie, just to let you know, I had an inquiry from a new pupil this week." And the first question was, "Are you the guy that shows the truth videos?" Was their first question to
Oh,
this.
brilliant.
And he was like,
That's
"Wow, so young people are talking about it in Kent, certainly." So,
yeah,
no, promote it, shout it from the rooftops, 100%.
yeah,
No problems with that
yeah.
at all.
And I think as well, when we, as instructors, we get so many inquiries on Facebook and in our inboxes. My child is turning 17 next month. I'm looking for an instructor. For you to be able to say, yes, I have availability as part of being with me. I also offer this, and these are the benefits and stuff. What parent would say no to that? Of course, it makes you such a unique selling point. I think it really does. Sally's asked a great question. What if a learner swaps to another instructor? Can their progress be carried over if the new instructor is also using the Honest Truth as part of the same franchise?
Good question, Sally. The simple answer would be yes, basically. So within the app, what you can do is you can't swap a student to another instructor. We don't have the ability to do that in the app. But what you can do is you can archive a student. So you can put there's three elements there's three areas in the dashboard. There's active students, there's archived students, and there's graduated students. So you can instantly see who's in which group. If you archive a student, then that's fine. They just sit archived. From there, you can delete them from yours if they're never going to come back to you. But if they're going to go to a new instructor who also delivers the honest truth, that instructor can register them. They would have to re-register them on their app basically. They would then basically have to go through the truths. But if there's ones they've already done, the instructor can mark them as having been completed. They would just get the email to say, "Well done, you dealt with speed yesterday," or whatever the email says. So they might just get a couple of emails again, but there's no reason why they can't, do half of one instructor and half of another. Because I know students do swap between instructors. I've seen that.
Oh, that's really good. It's good that you're able to do that, so that they've got that flexibility. Tanya asked a really good question. Do you think drivers should retake their test or have refresher lessons at the time their license is due to be renewed? I have
100%.
parents, she goes on, she says, I have parents in lessons with young students, and it amazes me just how much they aren't aware of the changes in road safety and the law. Do you know if this is something that's been discussed already?
No, it's not been discussed. It's something that I would, if I could change one thing about
Yeah,
the driving legislation, it would be that whenever you renew your photo card, you have to take a test. You have to take
yeah,
a competency test. I
yeah.
was retested every 3 years as an advanced driver. So every 3 years in the police, I'd have to go away for a week, and I would have my driving scrutinised for a week, basically, to show that I was still competent and capable to hold an advanced police driving license or advanced police driving
Mhm.
ticket. But you think about just very quickly, you think about the industry that could built up and the amount of money the government could generate through
Yeah,
having to renew your license and to having to reprove your competency every time you renew your photocard license every 10 years. Only once every 10 years. You have
yeah.
to pay, you have to renew your passport every 10 years, and that costs you 75 quid. Okay.
Mhm.
You have to renew your driving license every 10 years, cost you 50 quid.
Mhm.
Actually, you have to go out and prove your competency. So there's a whole industry there around assessors, assessing people. It's a full time industry, assessing people every 10 years. But also, if people then want to go out and do, I could do with a bit of a scrub up refresher before my assessment. Because if I fail it, my license has been taken off me there and then. I don't want to risk that.
Yeah.
So actually, you've then got an industry around refresher training, complete industry
Mm.
around that. There's a massive multi-million, if not billion-pound industry here that is being ignored. That it would
Yeah.
be relatively simple to set up. Now, the reason it hasn't is because no government wants to penalise a driver, because that's a vote killer. They'll lose votes. If they say,
Yes.
right, you're going to be retested every 10 years, anybody who voted for that particular party will go, I'm never voting for them again. I'm not being retested every 10 years. Why do I need to be retested?
Yeah.
But I am a massive advocate of that. Massive. I think one thing I would change if I could.
Yeah. I would agree with you there. There is so many people who I meet who go, "Oh, you're a driving instructor. I wouldn't pass my test if I took it now." And I just think, well, you should want to be better. You should want to do better and not just admit that you wouldn't pass now. We should always be at a level where we're always safe and making safe decisions, shouldn't we? Um, So, oh, last question that I missed. What's Ollie's opinion on the graduate license? You mean the graduated license P-pod? I think she means, yeah.
Yeah. Just before that, Joanne was asking about me. I'm a PDI. Just to clarify, we absolutely welcome PDIs at the Honest Truth. We're in the process of changing all our marketing and all our stuff to reflect instructor, not ADIs. We're going to reflect
Brilliant.
instructor because we welcome PDIs. You are the future of the industry, and we want as many PDIs to get involved with the Honest Truth right at the beginning of their driving instructor career, basically. As long as you're through your part 2 and you're actively working towards your part 3, join the Honest Truth. You're welcome with open arms. So I just wanted to cover that point because Joanne obviously raised that she is a PDI.
Oh, brilliant.
So,
The graduated driver license.
graduated license. I'm in favour. I'm all in favour of graduated licenses. They've been shown to be used and implemented to good effect in countries like Australia and New Zealand. I think restrictions on the times of days that young drivers can go out is a good thing, unless they have an exemption through work, which is fine. There's an exemption process there. So anybody that says it unfairly disadvantages young people who work late or who are working McDonald's 24/7, it doesn't, because they can get an exemption for a specific reason, which is fine, or they were looking at that. Risk of reducing the number of passengers they can take, absolutely 100% with that. And also a zero alcohol limit and drug limit as well, 100% with that. There is a place for graduated licenses. I know it's gone very cold recently. I honestly thought they were coming in, but it all seems to have gone cold again. I think graduated licenses will save lives. Personal view.
Yeah, I agree. Olly, it's been so nice getting to meet you. We've covered an hour and we've had some incredible questions from you guys. Thank you everyone for participating. I popped a link in the chat for people to find you, the honesttruth.co.uk. Shall we do another one of these in the future, do you reckon? I think people want to talk.
Well, it's up to your audience. I'm more than happy to sit and chat with you for an hour, Becky, but it's up to your audience as to whether they think they want to do another one with us.
Yeah, we've got yes, please. We've got a hands clapped emoji, which is amazing. I think sometimes for us guys who are instructors, we focus a lot on the test and we focus on this is what we need to do to pass. But actually, if we are focusing on the learner and helping them drive safely for life, implementing techniques like this, we are not only going to pass our tests, because obviously everybody here wants to do that, but we are going to feel so good in our jobs. We're not going to be helping anyone go off and make bad decisions. We're going to help the good decisions. So yeah, we've got everybody saying thank you. Simon says he's signing up. Mark says we do what Becky tells us to. Don't believe him. I'm not some sort of dictator. Bless. Thank you guys so much.
Questions, sorry, Becky, if anybody's got any questions, just drop an email. There's a contact form on the website. The registration process is fully automated. So if you do want to join up either in a funded area or you need to fund yourself, just to say, if you do fund yourself and subsequently we get funding for that area, the first thing I do is I advise instructors in that area that we've got funding. I cancel your subscription and I put you into a funded place, basically. So you would go straight into a funded place. You'll be the first ones to get them, basically. If I do get funding in a new area that you have funded yourself in, as a thank you for the fact that you've set the bar for your colleagues in a particular area, you would then be the first to benefit from that funding.
That's incredible. Amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you, Olly. We'll definitely arrange another one of these for the future, because I think road safety just isn't talked about enough. And on Empathetic, I like to make sure that we cover so many things. And this is absolutely something that, I support. So we'll advertise your seminar that you mentioned tomorrow. Can people still join that if they have got time?
Yeah. Yep. Join if you go to our Facebook page. So have you got the link for it that you can send out, Becky? I'm not sure you said you were thinking about.
What I'll do after this is I'll pop a post in the group saying that the recording will be uploaded tomorrow, but here is where you can sign up for the Honest Truth, and here is the information for the February seminar.
Completely free webinar. Those that are Honest Truth registered will get can have a CPD certificate, so it can count towards CPD points towards your standards check. Fantastic. As well. So no problem at all. Just very briefly, again, hot off the press, because this was only agreed yesterday. If it's of use, when the new coaching guide is released for Honest Truth instructors, Honest Truth registered instructors, Stuart Lockery from ADA and JC Scotland and Bright Coaching has very kindly agreed to run 2 specific webinars around coaching Honest Truth, specifically about it. Brilliant. I'm amazed. He's such a nice guy. So we're going to be running those as outside of our normal quarterly webinars as well. So that all can go towards all go towards your CPD for the year. So there's loads. Honest Truth has got a massive offering here. We're here for the driving instructor industry. I'm not a driving instructor, never have been, never want to be, never going to be. But I have a massive affinity with the driving instructor industry after working with them for well over a decade now. And I think you're all amazing. Amazing. You do a job I could never do, not in a million years.
Well, do you know what? We all think that about you, hearing your stories. I wouldn't have wanted to be in some of the positions that you've been in. So we can collaborate and we can make the younger generation safer drivers, can't we?
100%.
So, right. I'm going to love you and leave you all, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you so much, Olly. We'll catch up soon. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.